Today, I want to quickly talk through an idea that I have that Panini could implement that might win them back some love with collectors and actually do some good for the value of their, cards already created to date, but also maybe create some excitement about their future product. And it relates to match one memorabilia. And you guys will know that I absolutely love this stuff. I try and chase it as much as possible because being a fan of these sports, it's really cool to get a card that has a piece of a jersey in there, and you can try and guess which game it's from. And all that sort of stuff, but it takes the card collecting to another level. And I've talked to that, a number of times. And, it's been really disappointing over the years to see less and less cards produced that actually state where the game is from. It's quite disappointing, actually. And, for me, being a fan, like I said, of these sports, and I'm a season ticket holder at a number of my clubs and my teams. So getting to know which game it's from is actually like really exciting because it could be something that I was at the game for, or it could be a really important game in that player's career, as an example. And like I said, it's been really frustrating to not know that for all these, cards, the vast majority of cards that are produced. Back in the day, we had a lot more, stat-based cards that will actually tell you on the back of which game it was from and also what the stats were for that player and all that sort of stuff. And to me, it's just, a heck of an exciting thing to try and chase. And I'm repeating myself now, but it's been really disappointing not to have that. So I'm sort of sitting back in the last few months thinking about what Panini could be doing because, there's no surprise they've lost their licenses for almost every major sport. And it's like, well, how are they going to stay competitive? Because people have shown they don't like unlicensed cards. And we also have had that, bit of mockery going on when it comes to the top stuff and people sort of changing their tunes and all that kind of thing. I think for the most part, people are still going to, dislike unlicensed cards. But if Panini wanted to maybe try and create some buzz, I really think they should, number one, for future products, start stating where the game is from or where the jersey's from, which game the jersey's from. That's going to be a really cool thing, especially for some of these top tier athletes, because if it's, as an example, from a championship winning game or something along those lines, people are going to actively chase that thing, irrespective of whether or not it's licensed. And at least that's in my opinion. And from Panini's perspective, they have a heck of a lot of match worn memorabilia they're not using. And we've seen some things in documentaries and interviews and all that sort of stuff. They have a huge stockpile. So if anybody can go ahead and start implementing this stuff and actually stating where it's from, it's sort of a Panini. And to sort of go one step further, I really think they should be doing that to their older cards. They should come out with a database that basically says, okay, for maybe, the top tier sets, because they probably can't do it for everything, this is the insert, this is the card, this is the patch, this is where it's from, and start sort of detailing that historically, because then me, as an individual, I'm going to start chasing stuff a bit harder if I know exactly where it's from. And, it doesn't benefit them, the increase in price, but it sort of gets them back some goodwill with us as customers. And maybe it's a bit of a pipe dream and it's not something that's ever going to happen, but that would be a really, really cool thing. And I want to hear what, you guys have to say. New product aside, I think it'd be really cool to see that with the older stuff. I've got a bunch of flawless soccer crap over here and, it's not dated. It's not game dated. I've tried and guessed where a few are from. I've got an Andrea Pirlo up there from the flawless set. And I've managed to work out which game it's from. So that's a bit of a fun thing you can do as a collector. But it's quite difficult a lot of the time because, you don't really have the tells and it's really hard to photo match and all that kind of stuff. The only reason why I could do that Andrea Pirlo is because it's a jersey that Italy only wore once or twice, and there was only one of those ever sold in auction. So it was pretty easy for me to figure out which one it was. But it would be really cool, like I said, for Panini to come out with a database and say, this is all the stuff we're doing. And, from my perspective, again, maybe I'm talking through, rose-tinted glasses or whatever the saying is, and I'm only looking at this from my own perspective, but Top should be actively looking at trying to do this again as well. I don't understand, why they can't do it. And it might be, difficult for them to print on the back of the card exactly where the jersey's from, because maybe they need to print the card before they can put the patch in, and they maybe don't know what relic is actually going to go in there. But, down the line, that can be fixed, right? Because you can just have an online checklist that you can, reference the code on the back of your card. You go to the database, you see, okay, this is my jersey, this is where it's from. Some of you guys might say that's not possible, but Futera have been doing that for a heck of a long time. Their website doesn't work right now, so you can't actually see it, but there used to be a time and day where there was a code on the back of your card, you type it into their database, and it would say not only which game the jersey was from, but exactly where on the jersey your patch was from, which is freaking awesome, because they basically had the jersey in there, it was overlaid, and it would say, your card is from the top right shoulder of the jersey or something along those lines. But that stuff is awesome, and in this day and age when we're sort of sitting back and thinking about what can these companies do to create more value, I think it's stuff like this. And you guys might say, well, maybe it's a lot more work for them without, the money, but can you imagine if they started doing that, especially for, top level athletes, like the cream of the cream, right? You basically, your LeBrons, your Currys, you know, your Messi's, your Ronaldo's, all that kind of stuff. If they sort of started doing that, your Patrick Mahomes, and they were from like a big game, like a World Cup final or a Super Bowl, and you knew that was in there, you're going to be paying a lot more for that card. You're going to be probably trying to chase that product a heck of a lot more, rather than it just being a random jersey for all you know. And that's where my mind goes when it comes to, okay, what could Panini be doing? What could Topps be doing to sort of make the hobby better? And I really want to hear what you guys have to say down below. Because again, this could just be me talking at my arse. It could be me just being, you know, a bit obnoxious to how expensive this might be to actually do. But, you know, like I said, we're in a modern age now, and these companies want to try and streamline things. They want to remove local card stores. They want to, you know, bring things to be more online only. They're looking like they're trying to do a breaking focus first and foremost. So you look at the value chain, they're sort of cutting costs here and there to try and make the process as efficient as possible. So, you know, you can do that, but you also got to create more fun for us as collectors and more value. And I think something like this is the way to go. I can't imagine it would be that difficult. I would be very confident that information would already be on hand. Like maybe for some of the older stuff, it's hard for them to guarantee that that's exactly the piece of jersey that went into that card. But, you know, I like to think they're probably doing their due diligence a bit more than what they have elsewhere, and maybe track this stuff a lot better. So, you know, I want to hear what you guys have to say. Please share it down below. I just thought this was an interesting one to talk to. Not much else to add to that. Like I said, these companies, they take the piss with a lot of stuff. They charge us through the roof. They want to, you know, take game news stuff out. They've got us, you know, comfortable now with, you know, player associated stuff and even non-player associated. It's just crazy. Like you have this opportunity to do something really cool. And whilst we've shit on the hobby a lot because people are really dumb and they have the blinkers on and they don't really care. They just want to get the card to flip and all that sort of stuff. And they're just sort of in it for the money. I like to think there's still a lot of collectors out there that would really appreciate this sort of stuff. And I think that would be a really good, you know, cash injection into the hobby as well. I can see people paying a heck of a lot more money for a piece of a jersey if they knew exactly where it's from. And some of you guys, I know I'm going on a rant again now, but they might say, well, because you know which game the jersey's from and the player struggled in that game, people aren't going to pay as much, sure, compared to a game the player did well in. But I don't think it's going to push prices down to the point of, you know, it's selling for less than, you know, not knowing where the jersey's from. So it is what it is. I've said that a few times now. I've got a stack of Flawless Soccer here. Like I said, it would be awesome to know where this is from. You know, like Branislav Ivanovic, Chelsea legend. You know, I've got a couple of his cards here. Diego Costa, Oscar. It would just be awesome. Awesome to know exactly what game that was from. And the other benefit is, like I said, because if it's from a championship winning season, that stuff is awesome. You know, game used jerseys are out of my price range for the most part. Flawless Soccer, you guys might think it's expensive. It's actually still a very dirt cheap set. It sells for a lot less than what you think. So it's a good way for me to get that buzz and get that additional connection with my team. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm not sure if any of you even watched this video, but I thought it was a bit of fun. So let me know your thoughts and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.